fill in the blank. Free agency edition. When Jerry Jones says they're all in, he really means what, Chris?
I mean, they're all in for how King Jerry Jones deems all in means. I mean, that's what it's whatever he wants. All in. I mean, certainly, right? You expect splash type moves there, all right? But I don't know what that means. Now, listen, there's a lot of logic in football, and you know this, where there's a lot of teams in football that look at free agency and go, hey, after that first 24, 48 hours with all the splash signing, free agency really starts. And this is where you can get the meat and potato players to build depth and build your roster and team the right way, right? So I don't want to sit here and slam Jerry Jones, but when you make comments like that, yeah, we all sit here and go, well, I don't know, Jerry. What the hell does all in it mean? Don't say that if it's going to be, whoa, you blew us out of the water with the Trent Sieg long snapper signing. Watch out, all in. You just set yourself up for disaster there. What do you think he really means? What did you think?
Look, this is another situation that confirms my growing suspicion that all this talk about glory hole and winning Super Bowls is baloney. He's all in when it comes to keeping the Cowboys the most valuable property in all of sports.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that they are still America's team, that they still draw more eyeballs to a live game than any other team, despite not getting back to a conference championship game since 1995.
Yeah.
That is more impressive than if they had won the Super Bowl in any one of those 30 years. His ability to keep that Cowboys flag flying and to keep them where they are, regardless. Look, great book from, I can't remember who wrote the book, The 10-Gallon War, the fight between the Cowboys and the Texans. The Cowboys and what eventually became the Chiefs. They both were in Dallas for a few years, NFL, AFL. That battle is still raging because even though the Chiefs have won 3 Super Bowls in 5 years, the Cowboys are still more valuable. The Cowboys still draw more people to watch their games. Their Cowboys are still America's team. So this is all a grift, folks. Jerry Jones is a carnival barker who is doing his job better than any carnival barker ever did because he's getting you to come into the big top and watch the flea circus that can't get out of its own way.
No, I'm like, hey, I really think he wants to win a Super Bowl. I do. I think he's at that point. But I don't, disagree with a lot of what you're saying there. And that's the balance of the NFL too. That's hard. It is. I have these conversations with coaches from time to time where it's like, how do you balance, wait, we want to win the championship this year and go all in, but I don't want to do it to where 2 years down the road we fall off planet Earth and we have no chance to even be relevant or be in the conversation. And I think that's the balancing act a lot of teams try to do. Where's that fine line of, wait, we don't ruin our future and we're still up here, but we're in the Super Bowl window and a legit Super Bowl contender, right? And yeah, Dallas seems to flirt with that a lot as far as staying in the conversation, but maybe never being totally in the top 2 or 3 teams that you feel like can actually win the Super Bowl. All right, and so far, yeah, it's only been losses in free agency so far. So we'll see if they start making some moves here later this week.
Hey, Dak Prescott's cap number shoots to $59.4 million at 4:01 p.m. Eastern today. They've got to get his contract and 50 other top contracts under 255.4, and 59.4 is attributable to him. That's why they've been, and this was a year ago, they were trying to figure out a way out of this mess, and they couldn't extend his contract, and now they want to extend his contract. The problem is he's got leverage, and he's willing to use it the same way Jerry Jones would use it if he had that leverage in the same situation. So the Cowboys are just kind of sitting back. I think that they're going to do, I don't know this, but I think they'll do a simple restructuring. They have the right under the contract to do it. They can knock the cap number down to $40 million, and they still are going to have a huge cap charge next year. Even if he's not there, $50 million plus, even if he's not there. He's going to have more leverage going into next year because they can't use the franchise tag. They can't keep him off the open market. They're in a mess, and it's a mess of their own making. But, Chris, I like what you're saying about, as long as they're relevant. See, if they're ever 3-14 for multiple years, the shine is coming off the star. So they've managed to stay just in the vicinity, and that's enough to keep them as the most valuable property in all of sports. And I really do think that, you can say you want to win a Super Bowl, and at some point the competitive nature takes over, and let's go get it. Let's do this. Why not us? But at the end of the day, he's winning. He's winning every single year because his Cowboys are worth what, $15 billion? If they were going to sell the Cowboys, I'd say $15 billion would be the starting point.
Gosh, whatever it is, we know it's top of the line, top of the world as far as sports are concerned. And what do they do? I don't know what they do. I really don't. Again, now I expect them to get some value signing here, but like to your point and what they're talking about with Dak Prescott, right? CeeDee Lamb, right? That issue there, right? I got to think that continues here throughout the offseason. And again, as I'll say it to you, I think they have the best defensive player in football in Micah Parsons, who plays maybe the most chaotic, right, crazy man, Psychoville version of football you can play, let alone I think he's probably the most physically gifted defensive player in football right now. Like, there is no way, as a fan of Micah Parsons and a guy that likes the human being, I sit here and tell him, do not step on the field until you're either the highest paid defensive player in football or the second highest paid defensive player in football. And that, from that standpoint there, I just look at it hard for Dallas to make a ton of changes to their roster that's going to make us think, whoa, wait, they went from, divisional playoff team here to, wow, they're in the Super Bowl window. I got to see it to believe it because it just doesn't seem like it's possible.
It's a mess. It's a mess, and we'll be talking about it throughout the offseason, which is one of the things Jerry Jones wants us to be doing. He wants us to be talking about what all in means, because if we're talking about that, we're talking about the Cowboys and not talking about something else.
Yep.
Let's talk about something else.
Go.
Next topic. Browns going with Jameis Winston as the backup to Deshaun Watson over Joe Flacco means what?
Means they don't want to deal with the Joe Flacco questions or quarterback controversy or having to deal with that. They're going to go with a less popular backup that doesn't have like the heart and soul of the fan base behind him. Right? They don't want to hear, Andrew Berry. I know we asked him at the Combine, right? And I asked him, I was like, were you kind of happy you lost the wild card game? Because, if you won the game, everybody was just going to put Flacco on another pedestal. And, geez, if you won that one, he was going to be, the man in Cleveland. Right? They don't want to deal with that. There's enough pressure on the Browns, and as we talked about last week, there is enough pressure on Deshaun Watson. Year 3 there, the biggest contract in history of football, guaranteed. All of that has been put on Deshaun Watson's shoulders. They don't want him to play 2 so-so games, and the fan base started going, we want Flacco, right? That's why. So that's what that means right there. They're trying to limit the talk and controversy in that locker room.
I agree with you completely. We talked about it last week, and it's coming to fruition. They didn't sign Flacco. They have Jameis Winston as the backup to Deshaun Watson. Last one. With salary cap space created by a restructuring of the Patrick Mahomes contract, there was $21.6 million in cap space generated by the Chiefs. The Chiefs need to address what, Chris?
Well, I think, they lost a Nick Allegretti, right, in free agency. He's gone. There's certainly some questions there. I think on the O-line and the tackle position, right, is Donovan Smith a long-term answer there? And then I think it's, when I really look at it, you go, hey, the defense, it's pretty damn good. I mean, maybe they could use another defensive tackle in the middle, but damn, it's awesome. I think it's all about improving the O-line and then getting another receiver in the mix that they can depend on. I think that's what it's all about. Now, how they go about that, do they go draft, O-line and free agency, try to find the receiver, or vice versa? I don't know. I think there are, and again, I haven't studied the tackles yet, but it sounds like there's a lot of good tackles, and there could be some good ones on the board at the end of the first round for them to draft there too. So, but I think those are the two things I look at on their football team that probably need to be addressed before anything else.
Absolutely, positively pass catchers. Marquez Valdez-Scantling gone Yes, Rashee Rice came on well as the season went on. Travis Kelce. They added Irv Smith Jr., by the way.
Yeah, it was a good ad.
Former second-round pick of the Vikings.
Right.
He spent a year with the Bengals. A lot of injuries, but if he's healthy, he can be a nice complement to Travis Kelce. But, you need pass catchers. And the market for receivers really hasn't developed this year, so they may be able to grab somebody with some of this extra cash they have once we get a little deeper into free agency. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.